Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and I'm so excited because normally when I have dentist advisors on the podcast, I'm speaking with the one and only Ryan. But today we have Victoria Hughes. She is, I think, the only female financial advisor on the team. Is this true?
This is true. Unfortunately, I guess.
But we were actually chatting because when she joined the dentist advisors team, she reached out and said, "Hey, I want to get to know you. I know we share a lot of mutual clients together, and I want to say hi." And we just started actually chatting all things like women in dentistry and men dentists. This is for you too, because I know you hire a lot of associate dentists that are females. And I'll probably do a special podcast for like what it's like to be a man in dentistry. But today we're going to actually dive into female dentists and some of the challenges that female dentists face because as you guys might know, I used to have a company called Women Dentist Connect, and it was because I noticed that women just face different challenges in dentistry than others. And so Victoria and I were chatting about, well, how fun would it be to actually talk about the finances behind being female dentists and some of the challenges that they come up with and things she's noticing from stats. So Victoria, that's a little bit that I'm just like jumping in and jumping the gun, but please, why don't you tell them who is Victoria Hughes? Welcome to the show. Hi, nice to have you here. But can you just tell them a little bit about who you are and how you got into financial planning and joined the dentist advisors team?
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for having me, Kiera. I'm so honored to be part of this. So like you said, I'm Victoria. I'm the only female advisor at Dentist Advisors. But I came into the financial planning space a few years ago and was kind of brought up as that like traditional financial advisor that we tend to speak badly of. But I quickly noticed that because of how that traditional space is structured and kind of how that career path goes, that wasn't what I really wanted. So I actually jumped into the women's wealth space for quite some time and worked with hundreds of women. So that's part of why I'm very excited to have this conversation today, because in our initial like meetings when we were first talking, I noticed that there were quite a bit of similarities between our industries. And so I think this is an important conversation to be had and shared. So I came on to Dentist Advisors maybe like 6 months ago. So I'm still a little bit newer to the dental space, but very familiar with more of like a women's wealth background. So I'm excited to have this conversation.
I am too. Well, selfishly, I'm a female, so thank you for appealing to that. But something I really loved on your bio online, I loved something so much. I think this just speaks volumes about who you are. You said, Victoria believes that it's called personal finance for a reason. Your money and how you approach it is it is deeply personal.
Yes.
And I loved that because I'd never thought about that. Like they call it like your financial planner, but it's personal finances. It is your personal journey. And every person's different. And let's face it, men and women are different. And masculine and feminine energy are different. And so
Correct.
Really we're going to talk about like what are some of the unique challenges and concerns that female dentists do face, and are there trends? So Victoria, I know you have like a lot of stats and I have a lot of data. So kind of kick it off of the things that you think are most prevalent on this topic, and then we're just going to riff through it all. To go through it. So kind of kick us off of where you're at.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, I really believe that it's deeply personal, and you can't really judge anyone's financial journey because there's not a correct way to do it. I know there's lots of articles and content out there about, you should do this or you should do that and don't make this mistake or whatever. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be your personal journey, and your financial advisor is just going to be there to guide you and hold your hand through the wins and maybe some of the lows. And so that's truly why I love this business and I love my job so much, is because it's like one of the most meaningful things you can do to like add to somebody's life is really get them in a place where they feel good about it,
Mhm.
because money's such a stressor, and especially for dentists, right? You all are managing a family, a practice, and trying to have a personal life on top of all of that. And money is like a very, very powerful tool to make that a great experience or maybe more of a stressor.
Totally.
So like you were saying, the female experience is absolutely different. And like I said, like I've been working with mostly women in my career, not dentists specifically, but a lot of what I hear too, and I feel like this can relate to some folks in the dental space, is like this like I don't know enough. Like
Mhm.
this kind of like lack of confidence, but at the same time, I feel like women also are very good at doing their due diligence. So it's like almost like this, I'm doing all this research and I'm doing all these things to prepare, but there's also this like, I don't know enough, and this kind
Mhm.
of like analysis paralysis type thing. So I love when I can help women kind of come over that and just feel confident and good about taking the next step.
And let's dive into that a little bit more because I
Sure.
agree. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Female doctors call me, and one of the biggest things when they're asking to consult with us is, "Kiera, I want to feel like I know more. I don't feel like I know
Yeah.
enough about this." Like, what's your? I mean, we're just gonna like speculate a little bit. Do you have any
Mm,
ideas as to why that's the case? Like, what has caused? Like, what is the conditioning to make women feel that way? Because I don't feel it. I mean, men do still call and say the same thing, but it is a
sure.
constant like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know about this. Like I mean, I still remember I had a call with a client and she said, "Kiera, I just want to feel like I can be a more confident business owner. Like I feel like I'm a fraud all the time. I
Oh,
feel like I
yeah.
don't know money. My husband knows the money.
Totally.
His family knows
Yes.
the money. I don't really know that. Like why is that? Do you have any ideas around why? Cuz I mean, I love the why. I've got my ideas around it, but this is literally just we're going to be up in the clouds. There is no founding. Like you're not judging her on her financials, guys. Just curious.
No, I think a lot of it also is this like pressure to be perfect and get it right every single time. I mean, from like family upbringing to like society, right? Like we get a lot of messaging that you have to like look a certain way or have the perfect career or the perfect family life or whatever. So I think there's this constant pressure to like never make a mistake, and making mistakes is like such a big like terrible thing to do. So I think it's like this fear like you're going to get it wrong. But with that, it's like, mistakes is where you learn the most. And I think once you kind of get over this idea that you are going to make mistakes, the sooner that you can make progress, right? Because that pressure to be perfect and get it right the first time is actually like hindering your growth a lot. And we see this a lot with investing, kind of more specifically. Like men, they will invest at higher rates than women, but when women do invest, we actually do a lot better in our portfolios. So that's kind of like a funny little example of like, see women, like you're going to do great. You're going to crush it. Just like, do your research and feel good about it, but like do it. And it's
Yeah.
okay if you fail, and you're not going to know everything, and that's okay.
Sure. I like that idea because the perfection illusion,
Mm.
like to me,
Mhm.
I remember I heard a quote and they said, I think it was Tony Robbins, and it said like perfection is the lowest standard because it's not real.
Mm.
Like if you
It's
sit
not.
here and think you're gonna get it perfect, like that's just a total illusion that's not even real. And
Right.
so giving yourself that space and grace. And then I heard another one, gosh, I wish I could give credit to this person, but they said it's not winning, it's not failing or winning, it's winning or learning. And
Ooh, I like that
yeah.
framework.
So we're about to, I mean, I'm about to make a decision that I was like, oh gosh, I called Ryan yesterday and I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm like, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I'm just going to learn. And I think
Yes.
but finances feel, at least for me, so I'll speak as a client. I'll speak
Yeah.
as I am truly a dentist advisor's client. Um, I think there is this fear of like, well, what if I get it wrong? That's my
Mm.
future. And like, then I'm gonna have to work forever. And so I want to get this
Yeah.
right and get it right now.
Right.
And so I just am curious, like, let's talk about investing because that's like
Sure.
what you guys do. I
Mhm.
I'm a I feel like I've sat on the sidelines forever because I'm like, no, no, no. I'm gonna keep the money in the bank. Ryan knows this about me. No,
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm just gonna keep it in the bank because then I can see my
Yep.
dollars. But that's so silly, but
It
it's so
is.
scary to invest. So let's talk about like why don't women invest? Why is it a fear? Like I love the perfectionism idea, but also I feel a lot more confident knowing that women's portfolios tend to trend better than men's.
Yeah.
How do you talk about that? Like especially with investing because it feels downright terrifying to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure also on women to like take care of their families. Like there was a study done at one of my old jobs where they kind of were trying to figure out like what women's top priorities are, and women's number one priority is supporting their family. So they're not just thinking about themselves; they're thinking about their partner and their children. And so there's like all that other pressure to get it right, because in their mind they're like, oh, if I don't get this right, this is what it means for my family.
Mhm.
And fun fact for men, their number one priority is not supporting their family. It's actually saving for retirement. So it's actually
Really?
just, yes. So it's actually a different, that's an example of like differences in experiences and what they care about. So when it comes to investing, there's all this like added pressure, right? But I have heard it so many times, Kiera, where oh, like a female client will be like, oh, I just don't know enough. And like, I need to know more. So I think it's a really good thing that women, they will actually tend to do more research, and they're actually more likely to use professional resources like an advisor, instead of like listening to their buddy or whatever.
Right.
So they will tend to spend more time doing research and have an advisor. But where I think men do a better job is they tend to take action a little bit faster. So
Mhm.
while women will do more research, what hinders them is in taking more time with that, you're losing out on investing returns.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the danger there, is because the longer you let that go, like the more that your like long-term financial outcomes are not going to look so great. So it's just this idea, yeah, like I just don't know enough. And so I've had so many interesting conversations on like, well, why do you feel that way? Oh, well, my family and my kids and this and that. And I'm like, well, let's just get started and do a little bit at a time. So I've had to do a lot of like easing into it. And there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't have to, you know, put the whole cash account into investing. Like, oftentimes that feels like, whoa, like way too much. But I'd rather get someone kind of building the habit of it, and just to show them like, hey, this isn't scary. Just putting a little bit of away and kind of ramping up to that, like that's a win in my mind.
Mhm. No, and as you were saying that, I think there's a piece to that of, is it fair? I'm just gonna throw out some ideas
Sure.
that we might, it's almost like we are consuming knowledge without taking action, thinking that we're
Hmm.
making progress.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a fine line between progress and actually like procrastination.
Yeah.
And so, like, let's not fool ourselves that maybe what we're doing is we're researching so much because we want the information,
Yep.
but we're truly procrastinating because we're afraid. And so just
Yes.
having that like honesty within, because I know like at the end of the day, I'm just downright scared. Like
Yeah.
perfectionism, I think is fear based. I
Yes.
think there's so many pieces to it. And I know with Ryan, I was like I thought, do I even need a financial advisor? Ryan's the worst
Yeah.
salesperson on your guys' team of everybody because he tells everyone, like, you can do this without me. Like he says it all the time. He's like, Kira, you don't need me. You don't need this, which I do actually appreciate that he has confidence that we can do it on our own. But I remember I was at a conference and my friend sitting next to me, he said, Kira, the purpose of a financial advisor is to be that person to consistently get you to invest. And
Yes.
I think that that's where like coaches and advisors come into play. Like people hire us to hold them accountable, to hold their team
Yes.
accountable, to follow through. Same thing
Yes.
with a financial planner, financial advisor is like, where do you want to be? And then I'm here to help you, like, at least start the ball rolling. And it was crazy because
Mm.
when I look this year, I told Ryan, I was like, okay, fine. Your job is just to make sure that I consistently put money into my
Mhm.
investments. Like that's what I have you for. You're a real person. It's not just like Vanguard or someone that I can like
Right.
break up with when I want to, not do it if I don't want to.
Right.
Um, but it's crazy to look back at like the small investments really do add up over
Yes.
time.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, yes.
so yeah, it's just interesting. But to hear that there's the fear of the family, I could see why women wait so long because I'm like, no, 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 I got to get the kids out of the house. I got to do this and then I'll invest. What's the cost? Like, I don't know, Victoria,
Mm.
what is the cost of, like, you hear about compounding all the time
Yes.
and it feels scary. And guess what? Like, no one's going to get it right. That's the other thing with investments. Like, there is no right. There is
Correct.
like, it's not this thing that you can even guess. Like, there is no right with it. It's just like,
Right.
just keep putting money in because then it will
Yep.
be there when you get there based on how things work out. So,
Right.
what is the cost, I guess? Because I always like to say choose your hard. So what's the cost of investing
Mhm.
now and not having all the information
Yep.
versus waiting until I feel more like stable or established to start
Yeah.
like what is that gap cost? Like hit me with like how hard that's going to be because I think that to me is that a risk or a loss I'm willing to take long term by
Right.
needing to be perfect today?
Yeah, yeah, what you're talking about is compounding, and it's, like, often referred to as, like, the 8th wonder of the world because the earlier you invest, the better, and like you said, you don't have to get it right. We can always adjust the portfolio and make it, more meaningful and valuable to you, but really, you hear the cases of people who started investing, like, right out of college, even if it was just like a minimal amount, that money is going to grow like crazy over the decades. And the longer you wait, the less that you're going to benefit from it. And the cost can truly be astronomical. And like obviously you want some level of liquidity and cash to support you there. So there is like definitely a spectrum with this. Like I wouldn't recommend someone go straight into investing if they don't have an emergency fund, right? Like I say like invest early and often, but there's absolutely some like guidelines with that too,
Mhm.
because we don't want you to risk your current self for the sake of just investing. So
Right.
when the time is right, I always recommend early and often. And the best thing that you can have as far as investing goes is time. Time in the market is going to be your best friend, and also not timing it. And that's another thing too. Women are far less likely to try to beat the market.
Mhm.
Women's mindset is more so like, tell me what the plan is and I'm going to stick with it,
Mhm.
on average. And that's what the studies show. And that is part of why women's portfolios tend to do better. I think they outperform by like, I want to say it's like 1 to 3%. I need to refer
Mhm.
to that study,
Yeah.
but and that sounds small, but you have that over the course of your investing journey, that can be extremely meaningful.
Mhm.
So with women, like once we put a financial strategy and investment strategy in place, they're kind of like, I'm so busy. I've got all these things going on in my life. I'm trying to run a practice. I'm trying to like manage my family. Just tell me what to do and let's stick to the plan. So
Mhm.
it makes my job a little bit easier
Yeah.
when we're not, there's like a down market and they're like, no, it's okay. Like this is part of the plan.
Mhm.
And versus some like another mindset is like, no, I need to beat this benchmark and whatnot. Women don't care so much about the benchmarks. They're like, just tell me what to do and we'll stick to the plan. So
Mhm.
makes my
Mhm.
job easier.
Which I think is actually like a beautiful thing, right? So like once women make
Yeah.
a decision, I feel like they're more consistent. It's not this like up
Yes.
and down ride. It's just like making that initial decision, which I mean,
Yeah.
hearing the different pieces. Like we talk about it all the time. It's interesting, like when I'm in office, like let's just throw
Mm.
this, a female
Yeah.
dentist. So like a male dentist can come in and say like, "Hey, I need a burr." And if a female
Mm.
dentist says, "Hey, I need a burr," we're like, "Well, what's wrong with her?" Like it's this like tone and this undertone, and women read tones. And
Yes.
female dentists, I know so many of them are like, "Kiera, I have to like really walk on eggshells with my team, and I have to be careful of how my tone is." Where men are like, "I don't even know what you're
Mm.
talking about. I need this," and it gets done. And I'm like, "Yeah, but there's the rule. Like it's like the written code." And so
Yeah.
with that stress and that concern, just realizing like I think one of the coolest things is when we learn more about ourselves, then we can
Yes.
actually, in my opinion, like beat the system. Like, cool, if I know I'm going to be a slower decision maker, like history shows, historical trends show that women are more like they're later investors, they don't invest.
Yeah.
Like once we get there, we stay
Oh,
consistent,
yes.
then cool, I can cheat the system and I know that this is a flaw that I already have or like a
Yep.
tendency I already tend to go
Yeah.
towards. Let me not do that and let me just start to invest, especially when I feel like it comes to your personal investments.
Yeah.
And that was something that I just feel more confident now. So, speaking from a female, I mean, Jason and I started investing. We had to have it all set up, right? We had to have our loans
Mhm.
paid off. We had to have our house money in the bank. We had to have
Yep.
X amount for the business.
Yep.
And in hindsight, I think for me, so I'll just speak as a female business owner,
Sure.
I felt like, and Victoria, maybe you hear this, maybe you don't. I felt like I had to have, and I don't even know where this came from, like X amount to feel like I was worthy enough to start investing. That I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
qualified. Like it was this weird
Yeah.
thing because otherwise, like no, I'm just Kiera. Like I just want to
Yeah.
be an advisor. Like that just feels too. I don't want to say bougie, but it feels like out of my league. Like no, 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 that's for other people. That's
I
for men dentists. Like that's how I.
Yeah.
And I was
No, I
honestly.
I totally get where you're coming from, and, oh, I, like, feel it in my insides because I hear that so much, Kira, like, you're not the first person to share that, those feelings with me because, yeah, I've heard it all the time where it's like, "Oh, like, I'm not ready for an advisor," and I'm like, "Well, are you on a financial journey like the rest of us? Then you're ready for an advisor." Maybe that doesn't mean, like, full service, like private wealth, but everybody needs like some sort of financial professional in their back pocket, right? Like, how are you supposed to know what to do with this? Like, none of us, like, we're born like knowing the differences between Roth IRA and traditional IRA, right? Like, but
Mhm.
and I don't know. I almost think it like when you're younger and earlier in your career, I think it's more meaningful because
Yes.
you have the advantage of time, like I said, and you are in a position, earlier in your career where you're making really important long-term decisions. And I'd so much rather work with someone in that space and help them feel good about it versus more of like a reactive approach, like, oh
Mhm.
crap, this is like my situation, Victoria, like help. And of course I'll help and we'll do everything that we can. But no, you don't need like a certain level of wealth, and you quite literally don't need to know anything about money in order to start working with an advisor. And I think if you don't, that's more of a reason too, right?
Mhm.
Because you need the help and early and often. And that's honestly what I love about like dentist advisors is we're always trying to like structure ourselves and pricing model and all of that to be able to help people early and often.
Mhm.
And those are often like some of my favorite clients because I just love bringing people into like the financial space and showing them that yes, it's a lot. And you're going to have to make a lot of decisions. And we'll do that together, but it's not scary. I promise. And it's just like
Right.
baby steps and getting into it, even if you know nothing, is better than like avoiding it. Right.
I I completely agree, and I that's why I loved this when we were talking and we met. I'm like, I feel so many women feel that way, but it's not taboo.
Yeah.
Like I feel like money is
Yeah.
taboo, and sex is
Yes.
taboo, and
Yeah.
their marital problems are taboo. But
Right.
yet, like if you go back in time of who we used to be, we were community creatures, and we
Yeah.
had a community. We didn't live in our beautiful homes with our fences that separated us from other people. We truly were community. And if there
Yep.
was a problem or an issue, it wasn't that you had an issue, it's that you
Mm.
shared it with your community. And so
Yes.
I also think like if I look at trends of masculine and feminine energy, like let's just go with that. Feminine
Mm.
energy is more creative. It's more
Mhm.
flow, and money's is more structure. And I
Yeah.
often wondered if that's why women feel that we're not as qualified or equipped for it. But I
Mm.
like to think of money as a flow. Like money is
Mm.
a fun game for me to experience, to enjoy, to see like what are they. Yes, it is more rigid and there's more structure, but I'm like, this is the flow of my life. Like money
Yeah.
makes my life go around. And so
Yes.
why not invest in that sooner? Why not talk about it? But it is
Yes.
interesting. For some reason, I did feel like there was this cap of qualifying to
Yep.
be able to qualify for an advisor. And I wish that I would have broken that earlier on. Like,
Yeah.
I still think I'm young, but I mean, my little sister, her and I were talking. She's in college right now. And I said, oh,
Mm.
girl, like, let's put this money into this
Oh,
spot. Like,
girl.
they're having a 4% like APY, APR on it. Like, right now, like,
Yeah.
put your money that you're sitting there waiting for tuition here and it will accrue. And she texted me, like, here, I just made $20 doing nothing. And
Yes.
like she's already making money and she's already investing and already doing like I'm like, what was I thinking giving people Christmas presents? I should have just been investing in their Ross for them. Like that would
I
have been a
know.
better gift than what I'm giving
Mhm.
them. But just to like break the stigma of especially for women, I think there are men listening that this applies to you too. Cause I think
Yeah.
as a dentist, I think like not only are you a female, but then you're also a dentist with a doctorate
Yeah.
degree. Like you should know this quote unquote with massive air quotes around the should.
Mm.
But there is
Yeah.
no should. Like, where did that
No.
should come from and where did those rules come from? There is no should. And the sooner you can
No.
realize, like, I'm here to learn, and the more I can, like, drop that ego, the more help I'll get and the better my life will be all the
Yes.
way around,
Yeah.
the better you'll be. So, really, just dropping that, of, like, just because you're female means you're qualified. Just because you're
Yeah.
a human means you're qualified to have the
Yes.
potential. That's why I loved what you said at the very beginning of your bio of it. It's your personal finances.
Yes.
And you deserve that. Like, you as a person deserve to have
Yes.
a great future financially. So, those are
Yeah.
kind of some of my thoughts, but I don't know, Victoria, I'm sure you got others and stats and whatnot, so you talk first.
No, I think, like, financial health is, like, so important, and in this one study that I kinda referenced earlier, like, money is, like, women's number 1 stressor, But when they finally like again go back to like making those decisions and finally taking the leap, it can actually be like it is actually their like number one source of strength. So a stat that I have is 86% of women say investing actually makes them feel powerful, makes them feel like the sense of security and peace and that they're in control. So it's interesting kind of this idea of like they spend a lot of time in this like, oh, I don't know enough, and this like anxiety and fear based space, but then when they actually do it they're like, oh, okay, this is great. you know
Yeah,
it's
and
so interesting.
not even knowing the stats, like speaking for myself,
Yeah,
I do feel a lot more confident. Like
yeah, like you
just
said.
today, like I'm about to make a pretty big decision later on today. I messaged Ryan. I was like, "Listen, I'm about to spend this amount of money."
Yeah,
And then finally was like, I know that I'm good and I know Ryan's going to stamp it up. But I've also had the confidence of a financial advisor for, I think he and I have been together for 11 months, like actively coaching.
yeah,
I'm making him get
sure,
on a call with me every single month. And
yep,
sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk to you about, but it all just spews out of me. And
yeah,
I'm like, I need this and I need this. And this is where I'm thinking of going. And
yeah,
for me to have that confidence to make this decision because I'm like, I know what my finances are. I know what my investments are. I know
yeah,
which areas I can go. I don't know everything. I don't know everything within, but I'm like, Ryan doesn't,
sure.
Victoria doesn't,
I
nobody
don't know
does.
everything. I don't claim to know everything.
Also, meanwhile, is you can just be an average human and do really well. And that's what makes
Yes,
it so empowering for me. So it's like, great. I now know
totally.
what decisions I can make. I know where my money is. I feel
Yeah.
more confident. And what I found from consulting and from finances is
Mm.
when you know your numbers, you make smarter
Yes.
decisions more confidently.
Yes, and I think that's where that, like, those feelings of power and control really, like and peace and security all really come from. It's like, "Okay, now I know where everything's at," and, like, I'll even see it in, like, clients' faces and, like, literally even in their shoulders, you can, like, watch it drop, and I was like, "Oh, wow, like, we did it. We got you to a better place." But I wanna highlight something that you said that I think is unique about women is, like, talking about it. So we all know money is like such a taboo topic,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, but in spaces where I've seen women like talk about it or even like talk about their practices, it is like fireworks. It is such a beautiful thing to see and experience, like even if I'm not in the conversation, just like watching it. And I've been in a couple different like female dentist spaces, and it's like I'm like a golden retriever there. It's like it's beautiful to watch because it's like, oh, like, does your P&L look like this? Mine looks like this. Oh, girl, like you need a new CPA. Like, let me hook
Mhm.
you up. Like, I think once you like find that core group of women and people to kind of make up your personal and professional board of directors, like your progress just skyrockets,
Mhm.
you know? And even like you were saying with your sister, it's funny, I kind of did the same thing with mine, and she's like way better off financially than I was when I was
Mhm.
21 because I told her about high yield savings accounts, and now she's like making, 5% in there. And I wasn't doing that in college. Like I needed an
No.
older sister, you know?
Mhm.
But it's true. Like once we like finally like talk about it and you find just like people to be in your corner, I find that women are just a little bit more likely to be open about it
Mhm.
once you have that like level of trust within each other. And like I said, when you have those spaces, like cherish it. And if you don't have it, there's so many like places for you. Like I've been, like I said, I've been to a couple female dental conferences, and it's so beautiful. So the resources are definitely out there, and it is just like I said, a beautiful thing to watch and get to be a part of when you kind of like see that flourish.
Yeah. And I think about my little sister, and I have two little sisters. So this isn't the one that I helped get the money, but a
Mm.
different one. And she said, Kiera, it's 10 seconds of courage for a lifetime of
Oh,
happiness. And I just think
I
like what
love
really matters
that.
is 10
Yeah.
seconds of courage to like make the call to talk to a
Yep.
financial advisor.
Yes.
And like I go to conferences intentionally to scare myself. Like I'm about to go to a conference where we're going to do
I
firewalking.
love that.
I go there because I'm like, I'm downright terrified of burning my freaking feet off. Like that scares me to death. But I also know that if I can train myself to take the courage step of 10 seconds of courage
Yes.
for so much happiness. I went to a
Yes.
financial class and I felt like an idiot. And I remember sitting next to all
Yeah.
men. Why I didn't sit, and I purposely didn't sit
Mhm.
next to the girls. And sorry,
Mm.
ladies, because I knew I wouldn't get the same type of help. Where men would be
Mm.
confident and they would tell me like XYZ, where otherwise
Yeah.
it's gonna be me and some girl like swimming in a boat swirling in circles because neither of us know. But But then to be the female now that feels confident walking into a room, if someone's got questions on their P&L, if someone has questions on their
Mm.
financial advice, if they have
Mhm.
questions on this, like if I don't know, I'm going to send them to resources. But like you said, it's crazy. So I guess like to get into that crowd, it's going to take
Yeah.
some courage to make a call and to find out because you're worth it, you deserve it. And I feel like everyone
Yeah.
is dependent upon it. So if nothing
Yeah.
else, women are such caregivers. The way I overcame that fear was I realized
Hmm.
two things. One, I had to make sure, like, it's weird. It's so crazy that you said what you said because I didn't realize I did this, but I was so concerned that if anything ever happened to me, like what would happen to Jason. And
Yeah.
my
Right.
business protected because I thought like,
Yep.
well, if I die, this should be an asset, not a liability for him. So that was
Yes.
number one was to make sure like me and
Mhm.
him are financially secure, which I still don't understand why I care so much about this, but I do. And then the second thing was making sure that my team and my business were set up. And so I
Yeah.
feel like I can't do it for myself. To me, I felt like as a
Hmm.
CEO, I had a moral responsibility to my team to make sure that
Yeah.
I was investing, that I was preparing the business in a way. I mean, Ryan's helped me figure out like my trust and all this like shenanigans that I didn't even know I needed to
Sure.
do.
Right.
But still, like if I
Yeah.
die, what happens to this business and what happens to all of my team members? And so
Yeah.
that's just where I felt I can take the 10 seconds. Like whether I feel like I qualify or
Mhm.
don't, you might as well make the call and ask because you
Yeah.
do. And then you're going to be able to be confident in those realms. And then
Yep.
learning your P&L, learning those things, shoot, the confidence that comes with knowing your numbers is something that I wish every woman could
Could
experience because of
feel.
that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I have been told all the time and like kind of something that like helps me get through those like hurdles because it's not just like money, right? There's plenty of instances in life where you're just like I know I need to do this thing, but I'm scared of it. I don't know enough. Like this, the 10 seconds of courage, but really it's when I feel like when you lean into the discomfort of it and just accepting the fact that you don't know everything. I don't know everything. And I think that like perfectionism and imposter syndrome, it gets us all. It gets me every day at my job. I feel I'm not a good enough advisor or they deserve someone like better for them or whatever. But, like being okay with where you're at. Like if you don't know enough or whatever that means to you, like relative, right? That's okay. Like just admit it and accept where you're at. It's again, like what I said in the beginning, it's your financial journey and yours alone. There's like
Mhm.
no space to really even like judge that, right? Like I've talked to some women in like the quote unquote like worst financial positions with like high debt and they get so down on themselves about it and I'm like, how is this serving you? Right? Like
Mhm.
how like you already are dealing with so much. Why add the additional layer of negative self-talk? Like how is that lowering your debt? How is that improving your portfolio returns, It's not. It's not.
Mhm.
And so again, just like accepting where you're at, leaning into the discomfort and just saying, you know what, like I know I need to be doing these things. It's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but I know and I can rest easy knowing that once I get over this hurdle, I'm going to feel so much better. And so I try to anchor people in that.
Mhm.
Easier said than done, of course.
For sure. I just really loved the lean into the discomfort.
Yes.
Um, I guess I
In
could
all areas of life, right?
all of them. Like to
Like
me,
burn your feet, Kiera.
yeah, okay, let's maybe we'll skip that conference. Like it's still TBD. We'll see. We'll see. I'm like, it's so stupid. Like there's a lot of like, but at the same time, I'm like hundreds and thousands of people, whatever. Back
Yeah.
on track. Where do these like shoulds come from? I think is a question. Like,
Oh.
where should I be? Like, where does that even come from? And where is
Mm.
that founded? And is that truly founded in something that you want to believe in? And then where is
Mm.
this like conversation of I'm not good enough? Like, where is that
Yeah.
founded in? And where is
Ugh.
it founded in that life should be comfortable all the time? These are the
Yes.
things that I think about when I'm challenging my little beliefs in my head because if I
Yes.
can break that belief and realize that it's not serving my highest good, like for me,
Yes.
rules are and standards are that this is only allowed in my life if it's serving my highest good. And
Ooh, I
so
love that
me
framework.
not going to talk to a financial advisor because I don't feel worthy, like where is that
Mm.
coming from? Number one. And number two, is that really serving my highest good? For me, it's not because
Mm.
I should be taking care of that. For me,
Yeah.
feeling like I'm confident enough to go speak to these other women, where's that
Yeah.
coming from? Is that truly founded in truth? And is that serving my highest good? And
Oh,
so
I
just
love
realizing
this.
like where do these things come from? I mean, I we did a podcast with me, Ryan, and Ashley the other day, and it just is this epiphany of realizing like success, like the first 3 letters are suck. Like there's a suck
Yeah.
portion of
Yeah.
success. There's a
Yep.
discomfort portion of any
Yeah.
new thing we try, but for some
Yeah.
reason we fooled ourselves into thinking that it should be easy, that it should be natural because we become so
Yep.
educated, but in my opinion, we've also become so dumb, not realizing that
Mm.
like little children are not afraid to fail, but we as
Yep.
adults who are so quote unquote smart are so
Yeah.
afraid to even try for the fear of failing that we often
Right.
fail by not trying. And so
Well,
really
it
just like challenge those beliefs, I think is where I'm coming
yes.
from and ask where is that at? And if it
Yep.
doesn't serve our highest good, like let's say thank you, move along
Yeah.
because you deserve it and you're worthy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you've been saying a couple of times, like, you deserve this. You really do. Like, you deserve to have like a financial professional in your corner that can help you here make these decisions. And as part of like the financial journey, you're gonna make mistakes. Like setbacks are part of it. And not just relating to like money, right? Setbacks are part of like everything, right? Like your journey with anything isn't like linear. It's like up and then oh crap and then oh way win and then deeper crap. Like but the fact is like you're going to get up, like that you're going to try again. Like the world's not going to burn down just because you have a setback, and the sooner you can like stop being so hard on yourself. And I'm going to steal this from Matt Milcock, our CEO, stop shooting on yourself.
Yes,
Like
agreed.
all, and he tells me that like all the time because I'm a huge shooter. Like I should be a better advisor, I should be a better person, whatever. I could should on myself all day long, so stop shooting on yourself. That's his quote, not mine. But truly, I mean, to your question, like where does it come from? I mean, I don't know. I believe it comes from just like early on and how like women or girls are tend to be raised differently and than boys. That just the messaging and how we're wired. And I feel like women tend to just be like more emotionally intelligent. So that comes with lots of pros, but also lots of cons as well.
Right, right.
But yeah, I feel like from a young age where we have all this messaging to be like perfect student, like have the perfect beauty standards and get into the perfect school, have the perfect career, find the perfect partner in your life, like raise your kids a perfect way. And it's so unnecessary because like life's not meant to be like checklists and like certain steps and stuff. It's meant to be lived how you want to live it, and money allows you to do that.
Mm. Victoria, I think that that's a wrap up. Like, you're supposed to live the life you want to live, and money allows you to do that. So,
Yeah,
I just appreciate having the candid conversations. Like, it's very
totally.
fun for me to have these conversations. Like, let's stop
Yes.
having it be taboo and let's talk about it. Like, money shouldn't
Yeah.
be taboo. And
No.
like, the confidence of going in, like, whenever people are like, these are my numbers, I'm like, cool, but what's your profitability? And like, how are you
Mm.
investing? And teaching
Yeah.
and learning from them.
Yeah.
And money's the way to do it. So, Victoria, I
Yes.
adore you. I every time I talk to you, I just feel more confident
Ditto.
about myself. I feel like I can do this, and I'm not gonna
Yes.
like girl
Yes, you can.
power. I just feel like annoyed by girl because I'm like, whatever, we're just human beings here.
Yeah, I
But I
feel
do
you.
love that you understand because I believe that men
Yeah.
and women are different and there are
Yeah.
differences and society has different roles and responsibilities. And so just you understanding that I think
Yep.
brings a level of confidence for me as a female
Yeah.
investor. So if people want to reach out
Absolutely.
to you specifically, men, if you have associate advisors, Victoria would be great. Because I also think associates don't feel like they're owners, so why should they be discussing it when that's not true? They should. They have
It's
a
not
say in all of
true.
it too. And team
Yeah.
members, like educating your team members on things. So, Victoria, if
Yep.
people are interested, how can they connect with you specifically? Because I do believe like you deserve this life, and money's a way to help you get
Oh.
there. So, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can always schedule a free consultation on dentistadvisors.com, and we can get them connected with me, or they're also more than welcome to reach out to me personally. It's just Victoria at dentistadvisors.com. Happy to help any way that I can.
Awesome. You guys, I truly can't say it enough of how much having a financial advisor has blessed my life this year. Like the confidence I have in making larger
Yes.
decisions on knowing where I can spend my money, how that is going to impact my future financials and to just
Yep.
also have the confidence like I literally have I feel like the little Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder of like yes Carrie you can make these choices or hey you
Yeah.
can this is just going to be the impact has been a blessing that I'm so appreciative of Dentist Advisors giving me this year. So, Victoria, I appreciate you. I'm so excited to work with you more, to see more of you.
Yes.
For all of you listening, thank you for listening. And I'll catch you next time on the Dental Team Podcast. that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental Lane Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.